nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. To be with you, be with you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. Nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. It's my only desire. All I want, yeah. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship you. Nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to be with you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship you. There is nothing. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to there is nothing. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship you. There's nothing like your presence, Lord. All I want is to worship and take 20 seconds and go for broke. Yeah! Jesus, 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 Jesus. Something happens when we pray. Chains break when we pray. Mountains move when we pray. I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise will continually be in my mouth, be in my mouth, be in my mouth. I will praise. That's it. Tell your neighbor, give me a little room, give me a little room, give me a little room. And we worship you, you are God. Come on, lift the voices. And we worship you, are God. You are God. Come on, say it again. You are in America, in Africa, in Asia, hey, in Australia, in heaven, hey, go, 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 go. That's it. Go, go, go. I made up my mind. I made up my mind. I made up my mind. I will bless the Lord. I will bless the Lord. I made up my mind that I will bless the Lord. 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 Think you have better in you. Come on, sing it. Say, I will bless the Lord. Come on, say it again. Say, I will bless the Lord. Hey, I will bless the Lord. I will bless the Lord. In good times and bad times, I will bless the Lord. On the mountain, in the valley, I will bless the Lord. In the morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Undaunted 2020. The theme for this year's Youth Summit is Undaunted COVID-19 now and beyond. Uh, it's a pleasure to welcome everyone. Right now, we have two distinguished professionals joining us for this year's Youth Summit. And with us, they've taken out of their time to join us. And we have Mr. Akin Akinpelu. He is the principal Edge Network. He's a consultant and also an author. We are grateful to have you here with us, sir.
Thank you. Good to have you, moderator.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. So our second speaker is no other than Dr. Demola Shobunle. He's the CEO of Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC, and he will be sharing with us from his own perspective on the theme. And we believe that this is going to be a conference that will be life-changing, and illumination will happen. So right away, before we go straight into it, I just want to do a brief outline of and the structure of how the event will hold. We have with us, we've been able to structure it in such a way whereby we get the best out of two speakers. The first speaker, Mr. Akia Kupelu, will speak for 15 minutes, and also Dr. Shobunle will speak for another 15 minutes, whereby we'll have 20 minutes, 25 minutes of questions and answers. And that way we believe that we'll be able to get the best out of everyone. So right away, pardon us, we are having an issue bringing in Dr. Shobunle. He's going to join us soon. So I believe that if you are ready, you can just take the first session for us while the others, right, Dr. Shobunle joins us shortly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. What's your name, sir?
My name is Benjamin Akwabelam, and I'm the moderator for this session.
Oh, okay. Mr. Benjamin, good to have you. And thank you for inviting me to this. I appreciate it. And sorry for coming in late. I thought I was supposed to come in for 12:17.
Oh, no problem, sir.
Yeah, no, so I apologize for that.
No problem.
Right. So we are talking to entrepreneurs today, and we are talking about COVID-19 now and beyond. And we're trying to look at the impact on all the entrepreneurs and the things that we need to pay attention to, right? Are we together?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm asking questions that I can be sure that I've not lost you or the network is not giving issues. Okay. You know, so we're in the midst of one of the most difficult phases in our recorded history. I mean, the two world wars were limited to just a few nations and natural disasters. I mean, we've seen all kinds of things that used to be manageable, and this is looking like, I mean, from an intellectual point of view now, it's looking like nobody knows how long the ordeal is going to last. You know, so if you look at the total loss of life and the morale of the people, there's an invisible impact that it is having on the economy of nations right now. And I think that entrepreneurs need to understand that economies are contracting now, and societies are plunging into some massive depression, both emotionally, and nobody can cast their bet on when this is going to be over. Although from the faith angle, we know that, okay, it's going to be over, but I assume I'm just talking to entrepreneurs and strictly business people. So people are asking that, are we going to get back to normalcy? I mean, when are things going to be okay for us to get back to normalcy? And I'm thinking there may just not be another normalcy. It may just be unwise to think in that direction, because we might just be steering a new normal. So the way an entrepreneur should be thinking right now is that every season that comes to you is actually stirring up a new normal for you. So if it is stirring up a new normal, it means that our perspectives need to change, and how we have been playing our games need to be very, very different at this time. So I believe that the COVID-19 or the coronavirus has come to bring a wake-up call to everybody collectively, so that we can expand the frontiers of what we are doing, then also change the game with which we have been playing before now. So now that this has happened, what should an entrepreneur do at now and beyond? Like I said, that there may just not be any other normalcy. So if there will be no normalcy, then you need to begin to think in the direction of, what are the next steps I need to take as an entrepreneur, and how do I make sure I survive these times where the sharks are biting, and it's for survival of the fittest, whether you like it or yes. I mean, so we need to do that. So, and one of the things that I think an entrepreneur needs to begin to look at now is basically what I would call creating an ecosystem. I mean, I see that as really powerful, creating an ecosystem. And it's very simple, because an ecosystem is more like a jungle, so when fire breaks out in a jungle, there are lots of dive happening, but at the time you'll find that the jungle becomes more diverse and becomes more robust. So an ecosystem by an entrepreneur is like you trying to understand that I need to create partnerships. I need to create some visible moments that will make sure that when times like this come, because I have a whole lot of what I would substitutes in the ecosystem, a lot of people that are in the business together with me, I know that I can share. It's like me talking about, every startup is very fragile. So the only way to be anti-fragile is when you try to build an ecosystem around it. And when I say ecosystem, I'm talking about a mesh comprising your buyers, your sellers, your complementors, your competitors, and all of that. So that when something like this breaks out, there are lots of people that can share the losses. I mean, so that's an important thing, because in Nigeria, I know that many people don't build a business that lasts for many generations, not even up to 100 years. And it's just because everybody wants it to be just me, myself, and how do I make the profit alone? I mean, but build an ecosystem around it. I mean, that's one of the great ways for you to manage economic cycles when they break out. The complexities of our times require that we cannot use our local concept to run businesses again, or else we will just run sinusoidal and we'll have to start again every time that happens to us. So an entrepreneur needs to begin to have that mindset right now. I mean, I learned that a whole lot from, I learned a lot from this guy called Elon Musk. I mean, I like the way that Elon Musk tried to build an ecosystem around this electric mobility that's in this city called Detroit. I mean, he was able to do that. So you find out that he gave patent to lots of people that can now share in the pervasive technologies, and it made it easy for them to do their work. And guess what? They had lots of options. This is like thinking the big picture. Like thinking the big picture. So, and number two is that every entrepreneur, you need to understand now that you need to be close to your banks. You need to be close to your banks. I mean, and so the idea is this: when things like this hit, you don't wait for things. We don't try to get ready. We try to live ready. Now, maybe you've been into a product or a service organization. You've been trying to do that for a while, and suddenly this breaks out and you find out that for you to keep in the light and for you to keep playing your game, you will find out that probably one of the problems you're going to face immediately is a problem of low funding, low resources, and you know you need resources to keep on in the light. So you'll find out that you need to build a relationship with your bank so that when things like this happen, you can have access to info. I know certainly this period that, okay, the federal government have tried to do some moratorium and try to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, lots of companies, lots of organizations are going to die this season. I'm not trying to lay a curse, but the truth is that they were not prepared for what was coming. And one of the major things that will have reason for that is because that there will not be availability of fundings for them. So you need to be close to the bank. And as an entrepreneur, I think that one basic thing that you must understand around e-commerce is that you should also ensure that you have the basic things that you need, things like your website and things like what I call contactless paying or contactless payment. What that simply means is that, okay, now there's no movement. People have to stay in their homes. People cannot go out, cannot do anything. You have lots of products. You have lots of things you want to still give out. And it's there lying fallow and you can't do so much. So if there was a website, if there was a medium with which people that can help reduce the cumbersome process where people can just come into your site, people can just say, I want to order for this, I want to order. You can continue business even while you are online. Just get a delivery company you can outsource to and they go deliver your product and business is moving as usual. So if you are stuck right now and you say you have lots of product, lots of things, and you cannot render it, I mean, that's a problem. That's a problem. So for me, what I do is that I do coachings for people. So right now, I think this period I've gotten so much more for coaching for organizations. I've had to do coachings and trainings rather for organizations and coachings for people individually and without stepping out of the boundaries of my house. And for me, I'm in the service organization and that's how it works for me. And so people can contact me through many ways, whether via my email, via my website, or via something. I mean, if you go and check my website, www.akiankipelo.org, you get every information that you need about me. So even an entrepreneur, you need after now, you need to begin to think things may never become normal again. There is a new system that is emerging. And every time there is a recessional impact like this or economic upheaval, what happens is that a lot of people go down while a lot of people begin to emerge. So you'll find out that, I mean, go and look at the years of Kanye West. A lot of things are going on. Go and check what's happening in the Zoom stock market right now. Go and check all those, and you find out that there's like a new wave and new set of people are coming up. So firms will perish. Industries are the ones the industry that will survive are the ones who can allocate their mind ahead of what is coming. And number 4, one thing I would say an entrepreneur should have at this time is you need to learn to hone your skill or hone your capacity. And I think that's really, really powerful. You need to learn how to hone your credible and differentiated capability as a person, because you would find that there are lots of skills that you have right now that may just not work for you again. So the idea is this: so any organization who's not, if there's no tech foundation in a lot of things you are doing now, if there's no tech application or integration, no matter what you are doing, you are setting up yourself for a kill in no future from now. Because the idea is you don't even have a future if that balance is not there. So you must begin to think integration, think application, begin to think, how can I use the power of IT, the power of information technology to get things done for my company or with my company, because that's the only way that you're going to stay relevant. So for example, I have a few staff that work with me, and one of the few people, some of the people that have remained relevant are people who probably have some strong IT skill, and you find out that because I don't need anybody who can move around what IT can do for me, right? And you can't even move around, you can't do anything, as it were, so we need to begin to think in that direction. So marketing strategies need to change. So you need a lot of IT integration into that. Your branding strategy needs to change. Your sales perspective needs to change. everything needs to change, and you need to make sure that IT or information technology is something that you are trying to get on right now. I don't know how many more minutes do I have now, Mr. Benjamin, so I don't overtalk you.
Oh, you have 5 minutes more.
Wow, just 5 minutes to go. All right. So you'll find. All right. So the coronavirus has come to accelerate the future work in Africa. That's the way I see it. It's come to accelerate it. It's not a demon, permit my word. It's not, and because every time, you see, and I've checked it, check the times that we have such upheavals, that things like this happen, people emerge. It's like an acceleration. And if you're not positioned for it, you will find out that you begin to rely still on your old ideas, and you will not go further than where you are. So these are lessons I feel that Africans should learn from COVID-19, that you understand that at this moment where we are barely managing the crisis, big companies are beginning to creep, and where funds are being shifted just to fight global wars or for global perspectives. Entrepreneurs are limiting the reliance right now to be able to evolve. Entrepreneurs need to evolve and get better. Things cannot go the way it used to go. So you cannot seek comfort at this season. You need to begin to solve problems. You need to begin to see how you can arrive at solutions. Like I tell you now, I feel that corona, you know how malaria came, and malaria was killing a lot of people when this thing came at a particular time. There was a time we had different diseases that came. The time HIV became quite popular. It used to be, so you find out that it came and it just came to settle. What I perceive is that coronavirus, the thing about this is that this came massively and started killing a lot of people. But the way I see it is that this thing may not stop, but it will come to stay and dwell with us for a while, and so that humans can keep caution and all of that. But it will now start to be like maybe like the normal malaria. Because now vaccines will come out and people will be able to cure this and all of those things. And I pity those entrepreneurs saying that maybe this is the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, that after now, and that's why they are packing up their businesses. I really pity you a little bit, because it's good that Jesus Christ even meets you doing your business. So let's leave that. We'll talk about that at another dimension. So the idea is this: it has come to accelerate what you are doing. So you can't be comfortable. Start seeking solutions. How do I get it better? Now is the time for Africans to get back to their communities and look for solutions to numerous problems in their businesses and for people. I believe that we are endowed an African new set of businessmen who will build systems and structures are beginning to rise this season to get better. So I'll probably want to stop there so that when we get to question and answer, we can talk so much more another time. I think this is exactly 5 minutes like you gave me, Mr. Benjamin.
Wow, this has been really impactful. I wrote a lot telling from systems and structures. IT is very important. We need to evolve as entrepreneurs. And you also made mention of being close to your bank. I think that is really, really important for entrepreneurs and business owners. Permit me, we're still having some issues to our viewers online of bringing in the second speaker, but very soon he will join us. So we may take a few questions so as to maximize the time that we have. There are some questions that are already coming in from our viewers, but there's one I prepared because in preparing for this, it hits me that how do employees help their organization at this stage? Because the organizations are definitely going through a lot of crisis. They are definitely going through a lot of cash crunch. And also, how do organizations help their employees? Because the employees need their organizations as well. Some of them depend on the livelihoods that's the pay that they get for their livelihood. So how do we balance that?
How do employees support their organization?
Yes.
Or how do employers support their employees?
Both ways. Let's look at it from both ways.
Okay, that's an interesting question, Ben. we need to understand that we are in some strange times, and every employer and every employee needs to understand this, and so there's no employer that is trying to intentionally frustrate you. I always say this, that even when you are an employee ought to be what you call an entrepreneur. And this is what I mean. So, for example, I remember some years ago, I had this staff who was into IT, and he used to work with me in the office. And I called him up one day. I said that I really certify and ratify that you should be an entrepreneur. He said, what does that mean? I said, you are on a job right now. That's beautiful. But there are much more. You can do stuff for yourself that you can give solutions to organizations. So I said, you close from work 5 p.m. as it were. You can still do a lot more with your own skill and reach out to more people. It doesn't affect the loyalty, and there's no clash with the nature of business you do for us in our company and what you do for yourself. So as an entrepreneur, and the reason why that's important is because it is difficult for you to survive with one stream of income. It is very impossible. You must be able, even if you cannot be an entrepreneur, the least you can be is to be an entrepreneur, where you can have other things that you are doing. There are other things that are making money for you. I've always said that, what if a time comes where you can earn salary before? I used to say this thing many, many years. What else can you do in terms of your differentiated capability? So the idea is this: salaries may not come, or may not come the way that you expect it to come. As dear employees, you probably have to take heart and understand that you and your employers, you are going through the same times and the same season, and everybody is working based on the level of income that is being generated and all of that. So for some are lucky, they may get their full salary. For some, they may get a slash in their salary. For some, they may not get anything like that. Don't be offensive about it. I think it should move you to becoming an entrepreneur for you. Nobody needs to tell you right now that you need to begin to think entrepreneurship for yourself. An entrepreneur is someone who's got a job but still can do much more for himself or herself. And for employees, and if you know that you're making money based on the way your organization is working and you're making money, there's no point why you should not support your staff. There's no point why you should not help them. Your staff probably should be working from home, and that's if the staff is IT compliant. Because there are lots of things. You can come to office daily, get on Slack software, register your attendance, put your nature of work, your project that you are doing, and the things you achieved during the day, and then you are off. It's like you're in the office, so which is what I do. And it's like the same work. So if that is done and money and work is going on and money is coming in, there's no point why the employee would not pay the organization. But if you know you will not pay the employers will not pay employee, kindly do a letter to your employees and let them know that this is not deliberate. This is where we are, but this is the support we are going to give you at this point. So I think an understanding balance on the table needs to be established between employers and employees. But the truth is that I know that for some organizations, particularly the fragile startups, it may just not be easy to do that.
Wow, that is really, really insightful. You mean both parts to have a balance to the approach in which they take. So one question here from someone says, what are the 5 lessons that SMEs can learn from COVID-19? 5 lessons that SMEs, because a lot of people, a lot of business owners make up this SME structure. And a lot of them are really, really affected by this COVID-19. So what can they learn from this outbreak, sir?
Well, those are the things I think I talked about that I would call the startup lessons from COVID-19. Number 1, I said be close to your bank. Number 2, ensure that there is information technology. IT. Ensure your organization is IT driven at this point, or go and hone up skills and differentiated capabilities at this point. And number 3, an entrepreneur should have a disciplined, what I would call a disciplined pursuit of ambition. So don't just take every opportunity that comes, and don't be under pressure from your investor. Learn to say no to certain opportunities and just be focused focus helps you to get your result better. So this is a period where everybody's just thinking of what next can I do, what next can I do, and blah, blah, blah. Number 4, remember I talked about make sure you build an ecosystem, so that when there's a fire outbreak, everybody can share, but the jungle still continues to be the diverse place and the robust place where things can still gear up faster. I said be close to your bank so that you can have access to resources. I said ensure that you have a website that's e-commerce, have a website, make sure you brand yourself, and ensure that your site or whatever the business you do is got some contactless payment or what they call e-payment structure that can help ease of resources to flow from people to you. So that's about 6 or 7. I also think that entrepreneurs should learn to embrace change when it comes, embrace change and evolve immediately. Once the change comes, evolve immediately. That's like a survival kit for entrepreneur. So understand that you are in a journey where you are constantly evolving on daily basis. So that's why you should have access to information, read, understand what's happening amongst your competitors. It helps you a lot to get better so that you will not just be around yourself alone, and yada, yada, yada. So studying business models and all of that would help you.
Thank you. We have someone, a question for you, sir. Someone asked Mr. Sheon Oyetunji, who's watching on YouTube. He said, sir, well done, sir. What do you mean by get close to your bank and how?
Okay. What do you mean get close to your bank and how? So, for example, now COVID-19 struck without you preparing. How do you stay in the light with your business? So number 1, if you were on loan facility, if you're on a facility from a bank, you need to be close to your bank for you to be able to access some level of moratorium. Number 2, if you don't have fundings and you need to stay in the light, how do you get access to money? There are, how do I put it? When things like this happen, there are some internal informations in the bank that helps you to understand that fundings can be released to people at this point at no interest. So if you are not close to your bank or you don't have a relationship with your bank, then there's a problem somewhere. So it's as good as when you keep a bank account. So how often do you talk to your account officer? Do you even know the bank manager, or do you know the operations manager of the bank that you operate your business from and all of that? Because so that when issues come and you need some internal information, understand some internal dynamics at times like this, I believe that the banks are there to help you. So for example, now, there's a bank now that's giving out some money. So I won't mention the bank because, so they're giving out some money. And I got to know because the ED was just in the conversation with me and told me that, that social money is even put up together. And I said that the problem is that people don't know. He said, well, we cascade the information in our way, but we don't come out to talk about it publicly for people. And so the truth is that, you see, where you are determines who sees you and what you get. So, for example, you will never see the magazine where they are selling private jets on the road, in the offices, in the eateries, restaurants, and certain hotels. You will never find it. Yet, there are magazines where people sell private jets inside of it. You probably find inside an aircraft. And if you're particularly maybe flying a first class or something, just to let you know that some informations are just hidden in certain places. People must learn to break into places of power. Where you are determines who sees you and what you hear. So that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I hope that's clear for the guy that answered that question.
Yes, I believe so. So we have 2 questions from our viewers. The first is from Mr. Badia Dusemowo. He says, a lot of people will lose their jobs. Some of them are Christians. It will be difficult to get a new job now. What advice do you give these people? And then I think I just picked the second question. He says, good afternoon, sir. Do you think it is a good time to invest or back your investment, and also what investment options do you suggest? So is it a good time to invest now, or is it a good time to call back your investment, or what type of investment do you suggest?
Okay, starting from the last one, I really like the person to know. I'd like the person to tell me the kind of investment is involved in. You know, because if you say, is it a good time to invest? It depends on what you want to invest in right now. You know, so is it in the stock market? Is it in the forex market? Is in a business? Is it in a product, commodity, or something? I need to know exactly what. So I hope the person can just type out that for clarity. So let me get back to the first question. People are going to. That's by Mr. Desamo, right?
Yeah.
Good. People are going to lose their jobs this period. Well, this happens every time there's economic recession or pivot. This happens a whole lot. People would always lose their jobs, you know, but at the same time, the people who lost their jobs are the people that couldn't withstand, because not everybody's losing their job. That's one thing we must understand. And that's why I always say that when you work for an organization, strive to be an MVP. Try to be, you have to be that person where the organization will think that they are making a great loss if they have to retrench you or if they have to sack you to leave this organization. But if you find yourself that you are out of job this period, I how do I put it? I empathize with you, you know, but we understand that at present, those are the realities of our present time. Pick up yourself back and ask yourself, what capacity or what other talent or giftings do I have? What can I do? You are out of job does not mean you are out of work. Your real work is what you can do for yourself in your life. Job is what somebody else gave to you or you create for other people. So if they say that you are out of that one, then the most important thing is you ask yourself, what do I know? What do I have? So it's time to look inward. So maybe you had this IT skill or you had this ability you've not honed a bit for a while. So you're asking yourself, how do I begin to put these things to work? So it's time to just do some performance audit. So some talent or gift audit for yourself. And you're asking yourself, what can I do? You can do so much. When they get you out of job, you can't get out of work. So it's time to get back to the drawing board, get your books, get your biro. I have this skill, I have this skill, I have this skill. Write those skills out. Next thing you can ask yourself is, how do I get these skills to begin to work? Who do I need to access? Start writing that. You'll find that over the years, God has brought certain relationships your way, certain people your way that that have been there, but you never knew why God brought them there. You know, that man that was healed and was seeing men as trees, he got a second touch, he was seeing men as men. So when you begin to see men as men, is when you begin to see people for the reason why God brought them into your life, and how the relationships have been worked on and oiled over the years. They start asking questions, and before you know it, you are getting closer. Can I tell you something? Never get into depression or get into discouragement because you feel that you are out of job. You can do so much for yourself. You can do so much for yourself. And so for investment, I think that you need to watch the times and the seasons that you are in before you get yourself into any investment. So for example, when the last economic upheaval broke out, I think in 2009, well, Nigeria probably has always been in recession, but the global one that happened in 2009, I think, or 9-10, thereabout. I mean, when the stock market crashed and all of that, and I lost a lot of money even in that investment. You know, I lost a lot of money. I have a friend who slumped at that period, at that time, you know. But after that time, looking at the books and looking at everything, I understood that was a time to also invest in again. But before you invest in, you also need to check and ask yourself, okay, which organization am I investing into? So I need to check their papers, check their financials, check the board of directors. I need to see stability in the organization and all of that. You know, so those things are important. So I don't know what that person is wanting to invest in, you know, but he needs to check and be sure before he gets into it.
Powerful.
But IT is a good place to invest in right now.
Yes, powerful.
Thank you.
Someone once said, wealth is built down and collected upward. So I guess what you said is really insightful. So a lot of people have said the questions have been answered properly, and also joining us right now, Dr. Demola Shogunle, CEO of Stanbic IBTC Bank. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. So, Mr. Akin, one more question. Uh, and I think this is the final one. It says, what advice will you give or principles from your own personal lives that you have used to overcome challenges? Basically, being undaunted in spite of these challenges, how were you able to overcome them from your personal life?
All right, so I would say that the few things that I believe in and has worked for me over the years, I pay attention to relationships a whole lot. I pay attention to relationships. I say relationships, they're like the second greatest blessing that I ever received in my life. So what people will pray all their life to get a relationship can give it to you on a platter of gold. So relationships compensate for the things that you do not have, because life is all about relationships. So, and it has helped me created platforms and leverages for me to do the things that I do. Number two thing I would say has helped me is that I kept on honing my skill and I kept on developing my skill. Talent is not enough. When you are able to sharpen it, it becomes a skill. So I opened my mind to challenges and to changes when they come. So I simply just evolve. I simply just evolve. And another thing I do is I try to also use I spend my time wisely, and I rub minds with people who are probably better than I am. So I know people who's got information, people who have internal information in places, who know things going on a global perspective. I just want to interact with you, know what you're talking about. Let's talk together. Let me upgrade my level of ignorance to become better, and all of that. So that helps me a whole lot, and every other thing.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And
You are so welcome.
thank you. So we'll be going straight to the second speaker. And welcome, sir, once more again to to Undaunted COVID-19 now and beyond.
Yes, good afternoon. Well done. Yes, apologies
Good afternoon.
for some of the challenges, in terms of connection. Yeah, it's because I have so many security devices and firewalls on my devices, so I had to find a way, to surmount them. And I think it speaks to the top. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm listening. It speaks to the topic of Undaunted as well. So welcome, sir. Again.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate, your bringing me, to this platform. And it's important to start by saying a couple of things. The first one is that when I look at, the topic that we are talking about, and I look at let's say the theme test that I was given, very important. We are talking about 2 Corinthians 4, verses 8 to 10. And I read from NLT version because that one is very clear. It goes like this: we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies. Unquote. Very, very important, because we are talking about being undaunted. So when we are talking about being undaunted, we are saying that you are not afraid. You are undismayed, right? You are fearless, right? You are dauntless, right? You are bold. You are valiant. You are brave. You are indomitable. Stout-hearted. All this you will see, in Oxford Online Dictionary. You are courageous. So what we are talking about is that, look, given COVID-19, they will tell you that problems are designed, right, not to kill us. They are meant to actually bring out the best in us. So I wake up every day, to say that problems are meant to be solved. If there are no solutions, then there will be no problems. So if you wake up every day and you are going to the office, or you wake up every day now that we are even working, from home, and you are doing everything, if there are no problems to be solved, you can put everything on autopilot. So I'm trying to encourage us to look at even COVID-19 from that point of view. So another point is that when you see crisis, when you hear crisis, the word crisis spelled in Chinese language is composed of two characters. The first part of it, the first part of the character is danger. The second part is actually opportunity. So what are the opportunities embedded in this? It's important for us to bear that in mind. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. And it's important for us, as we go through this. I know these are challenging times. We are meant to be merchants of hope, at every level. And so you never let a serious crisis go to waste. Even as we are going through all this, some of us, we are computing, we are writing, we are noting some of the things that we are meant to start doing post-COVID-19. Can you imagine? We are already thinking about it because we are learning every day. So you never let a serious crisis to go to waste. And what does that mean? Is that we need to seize the opportunities. And if you don't mind, I can give you a rundown very quickly of even the situation in Nigeria, because we get to see let's say the information coming out of NCDC. As we speak now, Nigeria has already crossed 1,000 in terms of confirmed cases. And every day we'll see that, look, more states are coming in terms of those states that have been impacted. You understand? Globally, this thing had affected, 2 million, confirmed cases. As we are talking, look, deaths, in thousands. Deaths in thousands. The largest economy in the world is already impacted. The second largest is already impacted. Members of G7 heavily impacted. I saw, a piece of information that said that where in countries where COVID-19 had already been tamed to some extent, do you know the common denominator? They all have female leaders. Whether you are talking about Germany, whether you are talking about Finland, whether you are talking about Iceland, whether you are talking about Denmark. So it speaks to something. So you need to learn, to say, look, are there attributes, among, the female gender that are making them, to be able to, go out very quickly and deal this? It's important for us to know that, look, this event is you call it 1 in 100 years. Is a pandemic, planetary pandemic. 1 in 100 years, but we are meant not to be dismayed, right? We are not meant to panic. You understand? Our resolve in the face of this crisis should be what? Should be faith, not fear. We must remain dauntless. And, on that basis, I would like to say, look, when we are talking about being undaunted, and we are looking at strategies for now and the future, I would like to, because human beings, we are very fortunate. We are very fortunate that we are the only living, let's say you are the only one created by God to be in his own image. What do I mean? You remember we have God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Human beings or man, we are fortunate to the extent that we are also existing in that 3 elements and 3 forms. We have the body, you have the mind, which is the soul, and we have the spirit. So when we are talking about, what are your strategies for now and for the future? Number 1, we need to make sure that we take care of our body. So all the hygiene protocols that they've announced concerning prevention for COVID-19, we had no choice. So don't forget, we are not talking spiritual now. We are talking about you taking care of your body, for God's sake. So wash your hands. It's very, very important. Cover your your mouth. When you cough, when you sneeze, it's very, very important. Be careful. The objects that you touch. If possible, wear gloves. Very, very important. Social distancing. You know, people have been saying that, and you cannot, you know, that's also one of the reasons why we are under this lockdown. Right. Social distancing is very key. Initially, they announced 1 meter, you know, equidistance. Now, given what has happened, it's been increased to 2 meters. So you want to maintain, you know, 2 meters of equidistance between you and the other person. Important, very, very important, stay home. Stay home for God's sake. You know, if you stay home, you are able to disconnect the exponential function within the pandemic, COVID-19. You know, I've had to spend better part of yesterday explaining to some people the exponential function in mathematics. Because I had to break it and I said, look, 3 raised to power 4 is 81. But if you don't understand exponential function, you are saying 3. If you multiply 3 by 4, you get 12. If you add 3 to 4, you get 7. So you'll be wondering, how do we get to 81? It's exponential function. You break it down. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now it's because we are using 3. Imagine if you throw in 300. 300 raised to power 4. Do you know it? Do you know the result? It's in millions. 80 something. That is it. That's the exponential function in COVID-19. And it's important for all of us to maintain this social distancing. You know, social distancing, stay at home. And if you need help, please get help. So that is important for the body. Now, let me come to the mind or the soul. During this period, I encourage everybody, look for job opportunities. Keep your mind very busy. You know, do a lot of online learning. Do a lot of online searches, right? If you can mentor, look for a mentor. If you want to mentor, look for a mentee. Encourage people, call people, send text messages to them, call them. You can't believe that even under this period, even the happy hour that, you know, a program that was put in place for new converts, you know, arising from, you know, 2019, 2020, Freshers Night. We've had to record the classes, you know, on audio, and we've had to send it to the new converts. So you have to keep the mind, you know, busy, right? You have to keep the mind busy. Read books. So I'm talking about the mind now. Then, having done that, let's come to the spirit. You know, this is a fantastic time for everybody to meditate on God's word. It's a fantastic time. I mean, I remember Pastor Azuka was saying, look, 2 chapters per day. There is nothing, that's just minimum. There's nothing that says that you cannot do 5. What are you doing with 24 hours? Now you can't complain of traffic. You can't complain about bus stop. You can't complain about anything. So meditate on the word of God. Number 1. Number 2, intensify your prayer life. If you are already going out in the morning, haven't prayed for 5 minutes so that you don't miss staff bus, you don't miss your whatever. Now it's unlimited. You can pray for 1 hour. You can pray for 2 hours. What are you doing if you don't pray? What do you do at home now? Then you can go into online fellowship. Right, we've seen that over and over again. Go into online fellowship. You know, chapel, you know, we've seen, you know, our Sunday service, fantastic. You've seen Wednesday service, fantastic. You can plug to others. Go for online fellowship. So, I mean, in concluding, you know, because I know that, you know, people will ask questions, participants will still ask me questions. There are some things that we need to bear in mind in terms of the job landscape. Is meant to change significantly between now and 2022. And I would like to share with you, let's say the top 10, I would say the top 10 jobs that are currently in need, and they will also be, you know, in very high demand for the next 2 to 3 years. Data analysts and scientists. In our office, they are very rare. Even the ones we've trained, some of them are, you know, they are very rare, they are very scarce, they are highly skilled. Data analysts and scientists, they will become highly, you know, sought after and very relevant. Artificial intelligence and machine learning specialists. Number 3, you are talking about general and operations managers. Number 4, you are talking about software and application developers and analysts. Those ones are already in need now. They are very scarce. But they will even be, you know, more difficult to come by So if you are looking for jobs of the future, when we are talking about people being future ready, right? You want to look at that. Software and applications developers and analysts. Sales and marketing professionals become very relevant. Big data specialists. Now we are all going through changes. Digital transformation specialists. Some people, even manual transformation, they struggle. Not to talk about digital transformation. So if you're an expert in digital transformation, you've got serious, job awaiting you. Number 8, new technology specialist. Number 9, organizational development specialist. Because organization will go through all sorts of changes. Then number 10, information technology services. I won't like to depress anybody by telling you some of the 10 jobs, that will go out of, they will just decline. So if you are doing data entry, just know that, look, all those jobs, nobody will be looking for them. Assembly and factory workers, artificial intelligence and all those things will replace all those things. Postal service clerks, imagine, even now posts are shut down in some areas. So if anybody that is working in those areas, they know, but there are about 10 categories of jobs that will just go into extinction over time. So post-COVID-19 society, there are 5 predictions, that I've seen coming out of Gartner. One of them is that there could be rediscovery of the sense of tribe. People will start to, trying to align to their own type. There is a prediction that, look, there will be increase in remote working and work commitment. We are already seeing it. I've been working remotely for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and I haven't lost anything. I did Monday to yesterday, I did board meetings, everything remotely. We didn't miss anything. We were even more efficient. You understand? Predictions, pertaining to the fact that there will be prevalence of leaders capable of managing global crisis. It's important for us to bear that in mind, that we are going to see that. It is also predicted that, look, risk will continue, in terms of acceptance of, authoritarianism. We need to bear that in mind. But I would like to leave you with this. Look, smooth seas never made a good sailor. Right? You remember what happened? Peter, while the deadly storm raged, Apostle Peter prayed to walk on the water. And did he walk? The answer, yes, he did. So at this point in time, my prayer is that may the wisdom of God and the peace of God, abide and be with us. And we will soon be out of this, and we can all come back and rejoice over it. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Very impactful, and something you said sticks to me. Smooth seas never make a good sailor. Very, very impactful. So the questions are already coming up. I have a number of them quickly. So the first one is, how do firms manage job security for their employees in this time? How do firms manage job security?
How do we manage job security? Very, very interesting question. Job security, I'll break it down very quickly. Job security means that if you're an employee, job security to you means that you are very important, you are very relevant in the future of the company. Not trying to use, government fiat. Hey, don't rationalize, don't downsize. So job security, it goes both ways. The organization will continue to ensure that is growing, is expanding, is future-proof, is future-ready. Right. The organization will, as much as possible, repurpose staff members. So if we are automating, if we are digitizing, and by virtue of doing that, we are able to do more with less, the hands that will be freed up, what do? You repurpose them, you retool them, you retrain them, you move them into areas of needs. Do you understand? Those are part and parcel of job security. But as I've said, it goes both ways. Even you as a staff, don't just take it for granted. Educate yourself. Acquire new skill sets. be adaptable. Do you understand? Acquire new knowledge. So when they train you for something, some people can tell you that, look, this job I'm doing, in the next 2 years, it will become less and less relevant. The person will move department. Acquire new skills to go to another department that you know that for the next 10 or 15 years, that department will continue to be the bedrock of the organization. So that's why it goes both ways. Thank you.
Wow, powerful. So 2 questions here. It's one, someone watching on YouTube. It says, for a company that has seen its income stream significantly depleted due to the pandemic, and also with the uncertainty of new income sources, will you recommend a layoff or hope for the best? Open bracket, and risk possible debt/unpaid wages. So how do they? Or should I take it again?
No, take the last set. I've heard, layoff or
Okay,
after that.
Or hope for the best with the possibility, or risk the possibility of debt/unpaid wages. So how he's trying to say, how do you keep people or go into debt, or in terms of if you don't want to lay off?
Yes, I understand. He's always, don't forget when you have things like this, a global phenomenon, right? It is meant to impact, everybody. Everybody will try as much as possible to cut down on excesses, right? So if you have a situation where, and I can share some statistics very quickly, it's being predicted that as we speak now, about 3.5 billion workers globally, right? They have not been laid off, but they are not working. Do you understand? Right. So by the time, a company has been, affected by, this pandemic or this crisis, number one, the company will have to survive. So the company will have options of actually trying to say, look, how many workforce do we need to manage through this crisis so as to narrow down on our essential activities? And when the market will go on the upside, then they bring the staff members back. So that's one option. Number 2 option, some companies may decide to say, look, we will put staff members on half salary. Do you understand? That's another option. Number 3 option, in other climes, some companies can get, government, intervention funds to continue to produce, to continue to stay in business. That's another option. So it's a combination of so many things. But as I've said, I would say that there are no easy, choices. What I will advise is that you as an individual and as a person, I crave your indulgence. I beg of you, don't go into new loans. Don't go into, luxury spending. Try as much as possible to be liquid. Whatever money you have now, please keep. It's important for you to keep the money you have now. This is not the time to buy new clothes, new shoes, new items, to take risks with your money, to go and pay, somebody. Just make sure that you have the little money you have. Try as much as possible to keep it, because you need to keep your body and you need to keep your mind fit before you can be ready for the next phase of this crisis.
Interesting. We have one question here as well. It says, what advice will you give in terms of, from your personal life, in terms of overcoming challenges that you practiced? What advice will you give from your own personal life?
Interesting. Yes. What advice do I give? I see, you have to see every challenge as an opportunity to grow. You just must see it from that point of view. I mean, I will tell you, whether from my university days, you see a particular challenge is an opportunity for you to grow. So when you see a challenge, start looking at the positive side of it. You have to start looking at the positive. It's from day one. From day one of this COVID-19, we've been itemize. So I've been itemize, so I don't forget. What are the things that we are going to do differently? Even there are some things we are already doing now. We are taking full advantage. So when you see a crisis like this, you have to go in there with positive mindset. It's very, very important. You have to go in there, with, alertness. It's very, very important. You have to go in there knowing fully well that tough times don't last. Right. And as I was trying to share an experience with you, I remember there was a time, when I was doing my PhD program, I got a job offer, in a research institute, in another university to come and start working part-time. I accepted the job. I signed all the papers and all those things. And for 3 months, I didn't get to hear from them. Then I took another student to that research institute, a research student. And when we got there, I tried to find out what happened. Guys, I came for interview and they showed me the paper that I actually accepted the offer. But somebody told them that I didn't need the job. And they would have been paying me in dollars. That time I was not married. Inside the offer letter, I was given, trip to France once a year with my family members. And I was still single. I say I accepted the offer. Was I meant to be disappointed? No. The student I took to that institute, I took him through, how to use some instrument. The person was so furious. So he was asking me that we need to go and, confront the person who told the institute that he didn't need the job. I said there was no point. That I will get a better job. And that's what happened. Do you understand? And driving from my university to that research institute, it will also have involved taking a lot of risk. The road was narrow. It was never dualized at that point in time. There are too many corners. On a daily basis, minimum of 5 to 10 accidents. I said, look, God was just saving my life. And I got a better job. So what I'm saying is that, until I became born again and I saw a particular, Bible passage, you will see it in James. When you go to the book of James, James, I think James chapter 1, when you look at verses 2 to 4, it says that we should regard every trial. We should take joy in it so that it can bring out patience, so that we can be perfect and entire, lacking nothing. Do you understand? So when you go through crisis, right, you need to think positively. And there is no crisis that, it is there in the Bible, there is no crisis that you go through. It's already been calibrated for you to your capacity. I'm using words that people can relate with. If you go through a trial, that trial has been calibrated by God to your capacity. It's because you can surmount it. That is why God will allow that trial to come. So when you go through it, look for a way of escape and ask for grace for you to quickly discover the way of escape and to learn from it and to take off from there. So you come out stronger. So, and I can tell you, all our staff members who are going through this now, they will come out stronger. Some of them, they've never thought that they could be at home, attending to family needs, especially some of the female staff members, attending to family needs, and they are still working. And they are even more efficient. They are calling customers daily to brainstorm on how to come out of this and what will happen later. So we see more efficiency even under this condition. Of course, you consume data, right? But the equivalent of the data is that you are not burning fuel and you are not going into traffic, but we are working. Praise God.
Hallelujah. That's powerful. One more question, sir. It says from someone watching on YouTube as well. It says, how do we manage the laying off of all sector staffs? Note, this is already hitting most of the contract staff so hard. How can they survive this? I guess the question is in the oil sector. So they are asking how do they manage that?
Yes, if you look at it from the side of government, I think Minister of Labor was already appealing, to companies, because everybody is going through tough times, to delay, swinging from one end to the other end, because that in Nigeria, it's not as if we've got those kind of social safety net, so to speak. Already in the month of March or April, we are talking about almost something close to about 2-point-something million, jobless claims being made, let's say in a country like US, because they've got social safety nets. In Nigeria, the safety net is not there. Is embedded within the family fabric. So that was one of the reasons why the Minister of Labor and Product was appealing that companies should slow down. Let us all go through this, So the other thing is that if you think that you'll be impacted, you want to start learning new skills. Of course, somebody say, how can I learn new skills? You can learn new skills even while at home. You can start repurposing yourself. You understand? You can start to repurpose yourself. And it's very important because you don't say that you cannot learn new skills. I can give you a typical example. I mean, I had many years ago, I had somebody, a driver in our office, and because of the fact that we were able to show him so many things, when he got to another job, when he was telling them how to evaluate staff, how to give them performance appraisal, how to set KRAs for them, they told him that you are not joining this company as a driver. You are going to be the one that will be conducting interview for drivers, to be doing performance appraisal for them, and be determining those that should be laid off or those that should be retained. Can you see? The person repurposed himself. The person redefined himself. He was able to upgrade. I know that he went to acquire additional certificate. He didn't. So at times it's just a change of mindset and being exposed to some of these things. Knowledge, being exposed to new things. Thank you.
Thank you, sirs, for taking your time. I know you've been very busy as well. We are honored by your by speaking.
You're welcome.
All right. So briefly, we'll be rounding up because we are fast spent. I think, do you have a final word, sir? This goes to both Mr. Akinpelu, who has joined us as well, and as well. So, Mr. Akin, do you have a final word for us?
Hello?
Yes, we're here, sir.
Oh, that's an interesting one, Dr. Shogunle.
Thank you.
I enjoyed listening to you, sir.
Thank you.
Well done, and thank you for having me, Mr. Benjamin. It's been quite insightful. My final word is just like I said, that there had always been upheavals and there had always been times where things like this break up on the surface of the earth. And this is probably one of the most difficult phases that we have seen, and nobody knows when this ordeal is going to end, although by faith we know that this is going to pass away. And I said that this is probably the new normal. We may never get back to the old as it used to be. So what I would say is this. Number one, all entrepreneurs and everybody listening to us, you need an anchor in this period. And let your anchor be based on things that are intangible, and which I will call spiritual things and spiritual principles. It will help you a whole lot. It will help your faith to keep being strong all through the season. And number two is that embrace change as it comes and evolve immediately it comes with it. And number three, when you find anything confused, look for mentors or people that you can speak to. The difference between the ideal and stupidity is just cancer, and that helps you a little more. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed myself on this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Aki. Dr. Shogunle, any final word for us, sir?
Yes, thank you, Benjamin, for bringing to this platform. And Mr. Akinpelu, it was a pleasure. I joined late, but a little bit of your submission and the knowledge that you shared with the participants, really very impactful. Thank you very much. Look,
My pleasure, sir.
yeah, you're welcome. My parting shot is very simple. And it's very simple to the extent that I want everybody to know that we are very fortunate that we are, alive. The Bible says only the living can praise God. We are very fortunate to be alive to witness this period. This is you are talking about 1 in 100 years kind of events. God will preserve us to be able to talk about this event to our children, to our grandchildren, and to generations, in the future. And is an opportunity for us. Is a very big opportunity for us as individuals. First of all, to be human. That is key. And what do I mean by being human? I mean, we need to look. If you're a mother, you want to be a mother. You want to be a wife. You want to be a sister. If you're a brother, you want to be a brother. You want to be a father. You want to be an uncle. We have to be human. We have to help those who are in need. We have to reach out to those who are disturbed. We have to, offer hope. We have to show, motivation. We have to be merchants of hope, right? And encourage others. So I'm saying that let us first of all be human before we start thinking about, how do I become a better employer? How do I become a better employee? Because we need to first of all make sure that body, soul, and spirit, we are intact. So that is number one. Number two is that what has happened now has given us a fantastic opportunity for us to be future ready, for us to be future proof. Some of the things in my own organization that we will have taken through a pilot phase. I mean, a pilot phase, having co-created solutions, we may spend months co-creating and going through a pilot phase. We are being confronted with a solution whereby we don't need to do a pilot phase. You just throw it out there and you see the results. So we've got, we've got solutions, we've got, things that have already been tested and we are deploying. So I'm encouraging everybody, make yourself to be future-proof, make yourself to be future-ready, make yourself to be relevant in the things of the future. And underneath everything, your foundation, make sure that you are grounded in Christ. You can see, even I saw a picture, even in the Vatican City, for the first time post-World War, the Pope celebrated Easter sermon without anybody. Right. So things are changing. And that is why whatever people rely upon, whatever they depend upon, somebody said that it took a virus, a tiny COVID-19 virus, to disarm all the ammunitions, including nuclear ammunitions that the global world had acquired. So that is why, please, last point, make the foundation of everything you do to be embedded in Christ. With that, you will not fear, rely, and place everything on your faith in Christ. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that final word. It's been a very lively session. We are honored to have you, Dr. Shobile, and also Mr. Akiakintele. This is the summit online version. Usually it's meant to be a physical meeting, but we are undaunted and we have to evolve and make sure that we still be able to pass on this message to everybody as best as possible. Thank you, guys. Thank you, sirs, for joining us, and to all our online viewers. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, sir, Dr. Shobile. Thank you, Mr. Akiakintele. Thank you, sirs.
Yes, have a peaceful weekend and enjoy the lockdown and stay at home.
All right, sir.
and stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you very much.
All right.
Well
Thank
done.
you. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah, cheers. Bye.